Delta Community Support Trust, Ian Byrne.
Can you hear me?
Yes, good. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today. I realise it's very precious and you've heard a lot of people speak. My name is Ian Byrne. I'm the CEO of Delta Community Support Trust. Just briefly, we're a Christian social service and community development agency in Richmond in North East Christchurch. We work with about 2,500 marginalised, low-income, older adults and intellectually disabled people a year, and we provide about 25,000 instances of services. I'm here to address the proposal in the long-term plan to reduce community funding by $1 million. I please ask you not to do that for two reasons. Firstly, what I would like to say, though, is you're going to hear a lot of people saying things aren't good enough today. What I would like to really commend you on is the work that's going on with the library, with the sports facilities, and I was in the art gallery recently and I just saw that that's a really good space to be. My concern for the people I'm working with, though, is that they will not make a lot of use of those facilities because some of them can't read very well, in the case of the library, because art really isn't in their scope. At that level on the whole, and they don't come into town a lot because everything when we get here costs money to do. So that's what I'm just like to identify here is there's a whole strata of Christchurch society which, while all the things that are being done are wonderful, doesn't particularly benefit them. And I'd like that to be recognised when you consider your funding options around this thing. These projects have got hundreds of millions of dollars going into them. I recognise a lot of that as earthquake money. I just ask you not to take $1 million out of the social services funding because there's a whole sector of Christchurch which still really needs it after the earthquake. Just to clarify on that, Christchurch still has really high mental health stats, particularly for children and young people. And that is particularly in low-income disadvantaged groups who, on top of the normal risks that they are facing, have been moved around a lot and their parents have had to fight EQC and insurance battles as well as the effects of the earthquake as well. So we're beginning to see a lot of more disturbing behaviours coming through in that group as well. That's not our focus, but there are a lot of people in agencies who will be affected if you cut the funding by that in that situation. We focus more on middle-aged and older adults, but even for them, the earthquakes and some of the EQC-related issues have put them over the line from just coping to, no, I'm not coping anymore. And while I recognise the mental health is not specifically a CCC function, the funding that you are providing in that context is keeping the city sane in certain ways because it's supporting people and giving them places just to come and be listened to and heard and respected and giving them opportunities to move on and grow as and when they are ready. So CDHB tends to focus on the 3% of the population who has the worst mental health. We're dealing with the 17% that doesn't. And often what we're doing is when people get to the point where they need CDHB services, they're going in, they're coming out, they're coming to organisations like us, and we are being the community and support for them as that happens. And we get no mental health funding for that because that's not what CDHB funds. So, yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you very much for your time today. All the best in your deliberations.
Thank you very much, and thank you for what you do. I mean, we've all been to Delta and know what a valuable support that you provide the city.
Thank you.
I just wondered if you were aware that the $1 million that we took from that fund was so that we could attract another $1 million from central government. So $2 million was placed into the Community Wellbeing and Resilience Fund, the Partnership Fund.
Okay, so
and so it's actually increased the amount that's available to organisations. Okay. In order to grow the community's capacity to become more resilient and do things for themselves. So it's more of a capacity building approach to the community. Working with the council and not, trying to build capacity. So there have been a number of grants that have been made to it already. So, I mean, be happy to supply that to you if you want to get a general impression of where we've gone with that.
I just signalled that that wasn't clear to me reading the LTP, and when we talked to advisors, that wasn't the impression I gave.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you very much for your time.
Anne?
Oh, thanks, Ian. Nice to meet you, and thanks for your work. I feel quite sad that you're saying that we've got this beautiful, all these lovely facilities in the central city.
Yep.
And we've been looking at photos of the arts centre and things.
Stunning.
And sad to hear that your folk don't feel that it's there, that they belong there or connect there. What are some of the barriers that prevent your people coming in? And is there anything we can do about that through this process of addressing some of those things?
I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm just aware that because it's a central city, if you go in and you want a meal, you need to buy it here, and that's the rental and so on and so forth. We run a group called Explore, which we take groups of people into other parts of the city and try and get them to feel comfortable in utilising those spaces. And often we find that people haven't been to different places around the city just because they don't get out of their local area, and I don't entirely know the answer. I remember reading a stat that a school in Hornby at one stage, 20% of people had never been to a Christchurch beach because it was just not within the way they operated to think, oh, I'll get in a bus and I'll go down there. I don't know. Sorry, that's a really good question, but yeah. I think also, though, it's about tone of the facilities that we're dealing with, and if buildings are designed and activities are designed largely by people from well-off, educated, middle-class backgrounds, then that's who they will tend to attract. And at that kind of policy and planning stage, there's a need to think about people who don't come from those backgrounds and what might work for them.
Glenn?
Thank you for your submission, Ian. Where do you sense people are at in the city? So some want a new stadium, others, and many you've talked about today, at the other end of the kind of needs spectrum, wanting those basic needs met. So what's your overall sense of where the city's at?
I think we're moving forward, and it is great to start to get some of those buildings in place, but there is a whole semi-forgotten part of society. It was there before the earthquake, but some of those things have been exacerbated by those situations. One of our workers is heavily involved in working with homeless people in Latimer Square as well. That's not actually in Delta, but she does an amazing work. And there's that whole cross-section of society that's happening. I don't have these figures, but I suspect that sector of the population is growing. There are people working several jobs, and if they're not unemployed, they are now working poor. And those are things which people who need to be kept in mind as decisions are made. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. No, look, thank you very much for your submission. It's much appreciated.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you.